Hey guys, my name is Milan, co-founder of Break Into Tech. Just a bit of background about myself before I dive into introducing Mustafa. So I've been in tech sales for about 4 years now. Started off in 2021 when I got my first ever tech sales job in an AI company. And at that time, I was actually working at a marketing agency, doing sales at a marketing agency. I really hated the fact that I was only making like 30 grand a year. I found a mentor called Tom Tech Sales. He showed me how to break into the tech sales industry. And then I worked at that AI company for about 2 years before transitioning into a much bigger AI company. And I've been there for the last 10, 11 months. Completely changed my life. And what I do with my partner is we created a community called Break Into Tech, and we help people like Mustafa break into tech sales roles. And a lot of these guys, like Mustafa and a bunch of our other students, come from non-traditional backgrounds. And we've helped about 100 people break into these tech sales roles, whether it's an SDR, BDR, account executive. We also help people break into commercially focused roles as well. So not all of our students are tech sales people. We also help people get into customer support, customer service, operations, product marketing, even marketing roles. So if you are interested in breaking into this industry in one of these roles, then definitely listen in because I've got someone who's been absolutely crushing it in the game. He's had interviews at Gartner, at Deal. He's only about 19, didn't go to university, doesn't have B2B sales experience either. So I won't talk for him. I'll just let him introduce himself as well. And then I can ask you some questions as well, Mustafa. So, uh, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Cool, cool. So, as Bilal said, I'm 19. I don't go to university. I do still study, but not traditionally. I'm going more down the cyber route, but again, pretty much a lot of things interest me within the tech sales space. So
Mhm.
I haven't really had much of an issue adapting to a lot of, roles. But again, I mean, just went to college, really have some sales experience, not anything crazy, B2C mainly when it comes to jewelry, pilgrimage packages, stuff like that.
Online, right?
Yeah, online. And yeah, I think that's about it. Like I'm not a lot of you guys have degrees, like you guys are a lot more ahead
Yeah.
of me than
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
you should be. So look, if I can get these interviews, you can get them too.
100%, 100%. Before we dive into the actual questions, why don't you give us a quick highlight of what sort of companies you've been getting interviews at for the last few weeks?
Oh, okay, that's a good one. So Gartner and Deal. So these are two market leaders I managed to get interviews with. Gartner actually reached out to me because again, I optimized my LinkedIn. I made it look really good. And through connections as well. Deal, I had to hustle my way into that interview, which we'll talk about a little bit more later down the line.
Yeah.
Um, AI startups, one called Blueco, another one that I have an interview with next week, which is called Conductor. I've also managed to get myself an interview with Zoom Info for next week.
Man.
And
Yeah.
literally, yeah,
So Zoom Info, one of the best tech companies to work for in sales.
mm,
I have a few friends that work there, so I'll introduce you like I mentioned. One of the SDRs that I met in London, he worked in the same office building as me at Zoom Info. So we just became little friends.
it's not.
Gartner, amazing, one of the best companies. And then Deal, one of the fastest growing ever SaaS companies of all time. And what kind of base salaries were these companies offering you at 19 years old?
Oh, good question. Good question. Okay, so Gartner was for the SDP role. So it's basically an SDR role, but it's a program. So they'll train you up and essentially you're on your way. The base salary was about 35K.
Hmm.
Commissions again would mainly be uncapped.
Hmm.
But then again, you'd regularly progress. So within the end of the 15-month program, you should be on a salary or base of at least 45K. That's what you're taking home, whether you close a client or well, whether you set meetings or not. And yeah, again, salaries, commissions is essentially what you bring in, but roughly, I think she was talking about 50-ish K. That would bring you up to 50-ish K.
Hmm.
Deal, I actually asked them, and they said we can't disclose that because we don't know enough, in a sense that we it's more of a thing where they look at you and they look at your
Yeah.
experience and how good of a candidate you are and how much experience you have in the past, and then they'll give you a salary according to that. But you
It's
shouldn't be
open to
making less than
negotiation.
40.
Yeah, it's like open to negotiation basically.
Yes, exactly.
Um, and then let's say you get Deal tomorrow, or let's say you get Veranos, which is one of the other interviews they
We're
have.
honest.
Veranos, not the other company, right?
Yeah.
Veranos. And then let's say you would have had Gartner. What would you be making in 2 years from now if you landed the Gartner role?
Easily beyond six figures. So I'd be 21, easily beyond six figures. Um, Probably even if I'm doing good enough, I
Hmm.
could probably join some AI startup and be easily on like 250K.
100%, 100%. So that's the power. This is why I made it my mission to help change as many people's lives by helping them break into into the tech sales industry. What I realized was that there was very little information about this online. And I was lucky because I got into this a little bit early in 2021 and I met a really good mentor, Tom Tech Sales, but there isn't really that many people teaching this whole stuff. So I was like, I want to help as many people as possible and build the biggest tech education company in the next 5 years in the UK because I know how life-changing it can be. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you were doing before you joined our paid community, and then talk a little bit about the interviews you had then, and then we will talk about everything that happened since you joined the paid community.
Okay, so I actually had no interviews until I joined the paid community. Um, but as soon as I joined, completely turned around. I'll tell you a little bit about the interviews themselves. But I joined the program about around 2-ish months ago.
Two
And
months.
I remember because I reached out to you because I came across you by one of your lives. It was Lara's live, I remember. Then I reached out to you and I was like, hey, I like your content. Um, can you maybe give me the guide that you guys were talking about? Because you guys were talking about some 60-page guide.
Yeah.
So then you said, yeah, you want to join the group? I'm like, let's do it. So then I was applying and I was kind of tailoring my CV, but I didn't have much luck with that because again, I was being like an average applicant. I was just
Mhm.
applying, maybe trying to connect with a couple of people from different companies, and then I just call it a day.
Yep.
I wouldn't say I took it as serious as I'm taking it now, hence why I'm getting, a lot of distraction.
Mhm.
Um, but I think for me, things really changed or turned around when I joined the paid community. That's when I
Mhm.
started landing interviews at like Gartner, Deal, again now even Varonis, what's it called? Zoom
Mhm.
Info, all of these big companies
Mhm. Mhm.
essentially.
So yeah, just tell us a little bit about. Let's start from the beginning. How did you land the Gartner interview? Or feel free to start wherever you want to start with the interviews that you landed.
I'll start with the first one. So the first one was the Gartner interview. I had a little bit. So essentially, what happened was I optimized my LinkedIn. I used keywords. I put in the skills that they're looking for. I essentially just made it look as good as possible, make myself look as marketable as possible, right? Someone that, when you come across their profile, you see their profile, like, you know what, you might be a good fit. So I had those at about three companies reach out to me, three really good ones. One's Optimizely. The other one is Cision reached out to me for Brandwatch, and then Gartner. But I honed in on Gartner, and essentially what happened was I just completely just went into that. I was prepping everything. I was doing whatever I could, and I got the interview.
Mhm.
And I learned a lot from that interview. I didn't get the role, but again,
Yep.
it was a very good learning curve in a sense. The way yeah, pretty much I was relying on inbound for the start of it, and then when I started taking things into my own hands, i.e., doing like LinkedIn outreach, that's really when I started seeing a lot of traction.
Mhm. Mhm. So you optimize your LinkedIn profile. How did you go about optimizing your LinkedIn profile at a high level? How did you go about doing that? How would you recommend other people to do that?
So I essentially SEO'd, like SEO optimized it. So SEO, for those who don't know, is search engine optimization. It's when you look for specific keywords and that kind of puts you at the top if you
Mhm.
have those keywords. So what I was doing is I took a little bit of a scientific approach and I was experimenting and seeing what would get me results. And essentially, I was experimenting and I found it.
Mhm.
I found what I needed to do. I found the keywords I needed to put in, and I've been getting inbound ever since.
Mhm. So the first interview that you landed at Gartner was inbound. Now tell us about the other interviews that you managed to get. Like I know Deal is a really big one.
Okay, yeah. The deal one is one of my favorites. So I would say never underestimate the power of connections on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
and not even like on a nepotism thing, like connections that you've just got, like people you don't even know.
Yeah.
Um, I would say so. What happened was, I was scrolling on LinkedIn once, and one of a girl I never knew. I just connected with her on LinkedIn. Commented on a post of a recruiter at Deal saying, "I'm looking for SDRs from here, like the EMEA, I don't know, Asia, Japan, Tokyo, whatever. And then I'm looking for one in the UKI." So I reached out to him and I was like, "Hey, you saw you guys were looking for SDRs. Um, why don't we get on a call and maybe see if I'm a good fit?" And he was like, "Yeah, no problem." So what languages do you speak? I was like, "I speak English and Arabic." He was like, "Okay." He said, "Where are you based?" I said, "London." I said, "All right." Then he forwarded me to someone else, and then I managed to essentially just speak to him, and he was like, "Yeah, look, I asked the UKI market, and they said that they're not really in need of any SDRs at the moment. Um, but he said I'm more than happy to stay in touch." The guy was super helpful, and then essentially, uh, I just stayed in touch, and I didn't leave it. What I did was because I really liked Deal, I would search on their job posts
Mm.
every single day and see if like there's a job that I might fit the description of. And then
Mm.
essentially, lo and behold, one day a UKI market SDR opening opened up, and an
Mm.
EMEA one opened up for the Middle East because they're trying to expand into like African territories and like in the Middle East as well. And I was like,
Mm.
"Hey, I speak Arabic and I live in the UK. I can join either of these two." So I reached out to the recruiter and I said, "Hey," and I reminded him, I said, "Hey, look, these are two job postings. Why don't we get on a call and see if I'm a good fit?" We got on the call and yeah, that's about
So
it.
you messaged a guy on LinkedIn. You saw that they were looking for SDRs, BDRs. You pinged him on LinkedIn. He got on a call, but unfortunately, they weren't really hiring for the UK market anymore. But instead of giving up and not worrying about it, you took action and you hit them up again when they were looking for a EMEA SDR,
Yeah.
for a Arabic speaking SDR.
Arabic speaking and also in the UK market. Uh,
Mm, okay.
so yeah, you just gotta follow up.
I totally agree. I mean, sales is a follow-up game, right? So what people don't seem to understand is that the average sales cycle in an enterprise deal is about 6 to 9 months, which means you're talking to the same customer for about 6 to 9 months. And it's the same thing with these jobs. Recruiters always call you, hiring managers always message you and they flake on you and they never reply. You have to follow up like 10, 15 times. Like literally, for example, when I was trying to land an interview at Anthropic, I emailed 3 people. Sorry, I messaged 3 people on LinkedIn. I messaged the head of sales. He gave me the recruiter's email. The guy wasn't replying to me. So I used Apollo to find the recruiter's number and then I messaged him on WhatsApp and he didn't reply to me. So I sent him a voice note and he didn't reply to me. So I called him. Like that's the level of hustling you have to do because the job market is really competitive. Everyone has a degree, everyone has a tech sales experience, everyone is an expert. You have to stand out. So that's really good. Now, what happened to Deal in the end?
So essentially, their requirements, because I remember them looking for entry level roles, but again, the role that I was going into wasn't so entry level. I think they kind of upped their standards. So they
Yeah,
said, "Look, you don't really have as much B2B experience as we'd hoped, as well as outbound."
that's
So
unfortunate. Yeah,
yeah, it's very unfortunate. But then again, the thing that I learned from Gartner is don't let that affect you. As a matter of fact, is be proactive, right?
absolutely.
I've gotten down every single thing that I need to work on. And then now I'm doing an action plan on trying to kind of hone myself and really make myself the candidate that they're looking for. So hopefully, maybe in the future, who knows, maybe I can join Deal, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, at the beginning, so people that are trying to break into tech sales or into the tech industry, if you have zero experience in the interview process, just get interview experience. Don't have an ego. Don't get angry if someone rejects you. Don't get angry if no one replies to you. Just get any and every interview. For you, it just happens to be two of the best tech companies in their markets, right? So you got a little bit lucky there, but you got rejected. That's fine. We move on. We live. So tell us a little bit about the interview that you got at Vernos. What is it called?
Very nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a
How did you
funny.
pull that off?
Okay. So I realized the start of it was I realized I have to be really different, right? I can't just be like every other applicant because that's just not going to get you results. So I said, why don't I take it upon myself and start, pushing out content?
Yeah.
And then someone, I'm not going to name drop them, came up to me and was like, "Don't use AI. Come on, like stop."
Yeah.
Because it
Yeah.
was very obvious that I was using AI, but I used AI to kind of refine it. Anyway, long story short, we opened the conversation. He was talking to me. And then I was a bit mm, iffy about what he was trying to get me to sign up to, but because I didn't know enough about it. And then he said, you know what, just give me a call. So I was like, okay, what's the harm in it? He called me and he was explaining the situation or what his company does is essentially
Right,
help SDRs like me land roles. And
right.
then he said, okay, do you know what? He said, you have balls. I was like, yeah. He goes and he's like, call the hiring manager. I'm like, okay. So he gives me he gives you the number of the hiring manager, and then I go and I call him and I open up with the line of I open up with um look, bad news to be honest. This is a cold call, so I don't know if you want to give me 30 seconds or hang up. And he started laughing. He was like, he was like, oh my God, that's my opener. Like, what the hell? He's like, I can't believe I'm getting cold call. Like, yeah, you're getting cold
That's
call.
amazing. That's
So
amazing.
essentially, I really, really impressed him, and he put me to an interview. He looked at my profile. By the way, I got rejected for these guys when I applied.
Oh wow. Okay, okay, okay,
Indeed.
wait. So you got rejected when you cold applied, but when you
Yes.
cold called the hiring manager, he gave you the interview.
Not only that, so there's processes that's meant to be into place, right? He looked at my profile. He was like, "Okay, you got some experience. Let's do it." Right? He's like, "What about straight?" He said, "What about Tuesday?" I'm like, "Let me check my schedule." Okay, yeah, Tuesday. And then
Amazing. Yeah.
and then he goes and he's like, "Boom, let's do it." And it's probably like one of the best opportunities he has out there. And I completely just like again, you're meant to do interviews, they're meant to qualify
Yes.
you, and then
Yeah.
dependent on that, they'll give you like what you're made for, essentially, what they have in
Yeah.
store, and they'll match you to a company that is your worth.
hmm
And he was so impressed, he just gave me the top shot, just like that.
So the way that you got this opportunity is you were posting on LinkedIn about your experience of trying to break into the tech sales industry, which
Yes.
I think is genius because you're doing two things there. You're building your personal brand, which is an amazing thing to do in today's world. Number two, you're basically indirectly getting recruiters to see you and notice you, and they're going to be like, hey, this guy's investing in himself. He's doing a lot of work. He's bought a program. He's learning. He's in communities. He's hustling. He can write well. He can make good content. Let's talk to him. And then some guy reached out to you, which is like a recruitment agency or something.
It's more of a program in a sense.
Right.
It's kind of, I can name drop them if you want.
What's the
They're
company?
called Sales Confidence.
Okay. And what do? They help SDRs get into.
Yeah, basically help aspiring SDRs land SDR roles.
Okay. But then when he gave you the cybersecurity company's name, then you called the hiring manager there.
No, no, no. So one of the people I was talking to gave me the number of him, and he's like, call him, right? Impress him, right? So then I was like, cool. He called me. Oh, sorry, I called him. Obviously, done my little cold call, and then I got him to look at my profile, and then he was like, okay, because again, it says that I want to study cybersecurity, and that's what
hmm
I'm, well, not want to study, but I'm studying it, and that's what I want to go
hmm
into.
hmm
And then he was like, okay, cool, you got experience. You seem like a good fit. You have the balls to cold call me. Just do it.
hmm
And it
hmm
was just that.
Amazing. Yeah. Again, it shows the power of being proactive, reaching out, doing what no one else is really willing to do. So tell us a little bit about how you managed to pull off the Zoom info interview.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay. So again, I saw that they were hiring on a post, LinkedIn feed, and that they were looking, I think they're onboarding like 12 SDRs now.
Wow. Okay.
Um, and so what I did was I looked at a lot of the hiring managers and I just started connecting, like connect.
Yep.
Lucky me, I connected with the VP of sales.
Okay.
And then I went and I was like, hey, look, you guys are looking for SDRs. I'd love to join you guys. I love what you guys are doing. You guys are like one of the top companies I want to work for, right? Why don't we get on a call? And he's like, okay. By the way, I already applied. So this is like
Yeah.
extra things that I was doing.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Then he was like, okay, you got a CV? I'm like, yeah. He's like, where are you based? I said, where I'm based in London. And then he's
Yeah.
like, okay, cool. Never heard back from him. Turns out I went and I think he's the one who got me that interview. He was like, okay, give him a shot. And now I got my interview on Tuesday, I think, as well. Yeah. No,
Okay.
Monday.
Monday, and it's the first stage interview.
Yeah, just a
I
quick
I
recap.
th I think Zoom Info pays around 35 to 45 base as well for sure. And they have one of the best training programs because Zoom Info is a database software for salespeople. And They have some of the best training in the industry. So if you break in as an SDR at ZoomInfo, you're gonna have really good training, really good certifications, and you're gonna be set up for your career. So what I'm realizing is after you join the paid community, after we fixed your CV, after we fixed your LinkedIn profile, you've been basically getting your interviews through LinkedIn and specifically messaging people whenever they post a job and calling people and emailing people when you apply to the job after you apply to the job.
Precisely. And some of them I don't even apply to. I just reach out to the hiring managers and they're like, yeah, cool.
hmm hmm So, what if you could go back, I guess, to a couple of months ago when you weren't getting any interviews, or maybe someone that's just listening in, right? They've been trying to break into the tech industry, whether it's tech sales or not. What would you tell them to do in like 3 steps to land more interviews or to land their dream job?
Okay. I would say split it up into 90 days, right? First 30 days, you're really looking at making your CV,
Yep.
really looking at kind of optimizing it, seeing what works in your LinkedIn, seeing if you're getting any inbounds. Try and really like this is your prep stage, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just apply to every single company you see. Just apply
hmm
and do whatever you want, right? If you have the time to be proactive and reach out, do that.
hmm
Then on the second phase, I'd say from day 30 to 60, I would say then really hone in on being very proactive, hone in
hmm
on doing LinkedIn outreach, right? Really start cold calling hiring managers. And again, research cold calling in the first month and see what script works and whatever.
Yep.
And then on the second month, really research your top 50 companies, the companies you really want to work for, and reach out to the hiring managers, whoever you need to reach out to. Even connect with SDRs and ask them for their experiences,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And then on your third month, I would say, then really try to, you would have already gotten your interviews
Yeah.
and the companies you want to work for, and then just try to optimize for the rest offer.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. That's exactly what we go through in the program, right? So it's like in your first month, get your story straight, think about your goals. Do you want to be an SDR? Do you want to be a BDR? What kind of a company do you want to work for? What kind of industry in tech? What is it remote? Is it in office? Think about all of those things and then fix your CV, sort out your LinkedIn profile, and then get straight into doing 2 things. One, mass applying every day. Two, building an ideal list of 50 companies. With mass applying, you're just getting interview experience. With the ideal list of 50 companies, you're applying with a customized CV, with a customized LinkedIn profile, and then you call up 10 people at the company. I guarantee you, if you do these things methodically, you will get the best possible job for yourself over the next 3 months that will literally set you up for the rest of your life. Because, for example, if Mustafa gets the ZoomInfo opportunity or the deal opportunity or the next opportunity that he's going to get interviews at, by the time he's like 25, he's gonna be on a multiple 6 figure a year salary because he's gonna have a really good foundation on his CV. He's gonna build up the skill set. He's gonna have the training, the certification. It's like little steps that you climb up the ladder, right? So is there any, I guess, parting words, or is there anything else that you want to share about yourself or your experience, or maybe something that you want to say to help other people? Because a lot of people are struggling to land interviews right now,
Mm.
or land any jobs.
I would say, I would say don't give up. I know it sounds corny and it's like, oh yeah, like 90s like musicals. No, no, just don't give up. Because there's been times where I haven't had anything
Yeah,
and I felt so down and I was like, you know what? Maybe this isn't for me, right? I'm 19 and don't even have a degree, none of that stuff. Like, maybe I got lucky. I had imposter syndrome. It's normal.
yeah,
But I'd say when that happens, then just keep pushing, right? Double down on your LinkedIn outreach, make content, push out, and then the things that are going to come to you are going to be in like the ways you did not expect it at
exactly,
all.
exactly, exactly. Yeah.
And boom, all you got to do is just impress the hiring managers, really go above and beyond, and that job is yours.
Yeah, amazing. I really like the content thing you said because the content thing is such a hack. It just post on LinkedIn once a day about your feelings, about your thoughts, about the interviews you had, about your struggles, and you'll meet other like-minded people. Like people will reach out to you, they'll give you free resources, free templates. You'll join other online communities. I mean, well, I was gonna ask actually in the interview process, what are your career goals? So you want to break in as an SDR, BDR. Where are you seeing yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? What do you want to be doing then?
Definitely moving up the corporate ladder, I'd say definitely taking on more responsibility and talking to, higher level people, high level executives, really running them through processes and essentially maybe even a VP of sales role,
Right,
essentially
right.
start my own thing, whatever it is, right? It's just getting that sales experience for me now so I can set myself up for the future and optimize for the best salary. Because again, six figures on 21 is not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing, yeah. I think to get to six figures in your 20s, having had a six-figure salary by when I was 26, 27, there's only three industries where you can do that. And I have friends in all of them. Corporate law, the problem with corporate law is that it's impossible to break into unless you've gone to Harvard, Cambridge, Oxford, Yale, maybe UCL, maybe LSE, maybe Imperial. The second one is investment banking. Again, impossible to break into. Again, I've had interviews at all the major banks, but impossible to break into unless you've gone to the top 10 university. And then the other best industry for, I guess, people that are not as intellectual like us is tech sales. Like, you don't even need to go to a university like Mustafa. You don't need sales background. You break in as an SDR, BDR, and by the time you're 21, 23, 24, if you've actually started at an early enough age, you can definitely be on six figures. The reason it took me so long is because I had my own business for 2 years. I worked at a random marketing agency for a year. So I wasted a lot of time. If I could go back, I would try and get into Zoom Info. I would try to get into Deal. I would try to get into Gartner at a very established brand, work there for 1 to 2 years, go and become an account executive or an enterprise account executive or a VP at a startup or at a major corporate, and then work my way up from there.
Exactly, exactly.
Awesome, bro. Awesome. I mean, look, I can't wait till you until you actually get a job, because it should be happening soon. But really appreciate your time and wish you all of the best. And let me know when you get your next interview so we can hop on a call.
Will do, will do. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, brother.
All
Have an
right.
amazing rest of your day.
You too.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Take care.